Hello, hello, hello. I can't get my tablet to come on. There we are. Okay, I got it. Yay, yay, yay. Alrighty, hello, hello. Welcome to the locker room. You got your iced tea? Let's get our incense lit, light our sage. We're talking about somebody that did something not very nice. Hello, who's ever's in the chat? Is that me in the chat? Ooh, it sounds like thunder. And my truck windows are down. First of all, let me say if you're a praying person, please say a prayer for Miss Linda, lives next door to me. Her grandkids found something in her basement yesterday, and they ended up taking Miss Linda to the hospital. So, okay. I don't know how. Oh, yeah, I gotta open up my fair use thingy. Hold, please, while I look for it. There it is. Hi, baby. Now you know you can't get on there. All right, here's our fair use warning. Um, we have Fair Use Act and everything. Well, why don't you just go sleep? You were asleep in my lap a minute ago. I think he was taken away from his mama too early because he still wants to nurse and he wants to suck my finger while he sleeps. All right, then take this off the screen. All right. Sorry, my hair looks terrible. CJ was mowing and he feels like I'm putting too much on him all at once. So I go out and weed eat while he mows, and my hair's still a mess. Surprised I don't have grass in it or something. But anyway, all right, let me take this off the screen. All right, now who is Bryan Kohberger? Idaho 4. Idaho 4. All right, let me see. All right, excuse me. He wants to say hello. Say hello. Say hello. I know. Yeah, say hello. You want down? All right. There's your chicken. Okay. Let me see. If you want to, I'm going to put, well, here. Okay. There is my there is my website. If you use code word first time, you get 20% off of your purchase. And I've got over 575 items listed. And I got more back here to list. All right. Well, the ones here go to eBay, and they go into eBay, and what doesn't sell on eBay, then it'll go into get lockered after so much time. So, and my eBays also get lockered. I will show you. Here is everything. There's eBay, and there's YouTube, there's my email, and there's my website. All right. Sorry, I had macaroni and noodles for supper, and I got macaroni in my teeth. Okay. So who's Bryan Kohberger? Bryan Kohberger is a bad boy. I'll tell you that much. He's a bad boy. All right. Percent screen. I'm hearing music. All right.
Welcome to the locker room.
Hi, baby.
What is there to know about Bryan Kohberger? He is the prime suspect accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Consalvis, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapman, in their off-campus rental home in Moscow, Idaho, on November 13, 2022. The 4 students were fatally stabbed in the early morning hours between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. at 1122 King Road. The unalivings shocked Moscow, a small college town that hadn't seen a homicide in 7 years. Madison Mogen, 21, and Kaylee Consalvis, 21, were lifelong friends and housemates. Zana Kernodle, 20, lived in the house and was dating Ethan Chapman, 20, who was visiting that night. Autopsies indicated that the victims were likely asleep when attacked, with some showing defensive wounds. Each was stabbed multiple times with a large fixed blade knife. Surviving roommates were 2 other roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, were in the house but unharmed. Mortensen reported seeing a masked man with bushy eyebrows leaving the scene, but the roommates didn't call 911 until nearly noon, raising questions about the delay. A little background about Bryan Kohberger. He was born November 21st, 1994 in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. He was 28 years old at the time of the unalivings and was a PhD candidate and teaching assistant in criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, about 8 miles from Moscow. I didn't realize Washington and Idaho were that close, but okay. Kohberger studied criminology, earning a master's degree from DeSales University at WSU, and was described as struggling in his teaching role, with students complaining he was overly demanding. He clashed with colleagues leading to a meeting with the dean about his conduct. Oh my goodness. My sociology teacher in college was the same way. He said none of us would get higher than a C in his class. And he actually gave so many of us failing grades after the first set of tests that a lot of us went to the dean's office and had a talk with the dean about him. And he ended up getting reprimanded, and our grades were brought up to a C. But as he said, none of us passed the class with higher than a C, no matter how hard we worked. So let's see. Mental health and past. Kohberger reportedly struggled with depression and substance use as a teenager, but claimed to have recovered by 2018. He posted online about disassociation, self-unaliving thoughts, and a lack of emotion, with lawyers later cited an autism spectrum disorder, ASD, diagnosis, arguing it should impact sentencing considerations, though the judge rejected moving the unaliving penalty based on this. Kohberger's digital footprint includes a Reddit post asking ex-inmates about their crimes, listing himself as a student investigator. Instagram activity shows he followed Mogan Gonzalez and Kernodle's accounts, though they didn't follow him back. He allegedly sent messages to one victim weeks before the unalivings. Searches for sociopathic traits in college students, Ted Bundy, and pornography, with terms like rugged and sleeping. Social interactions with Kohberger was described as socially awkward. At a Moscow pool party in June of 2022, attendees noted uncomfortable interactions with him. He also visited a restaurant where Mogan and Gonzalez worked. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong page.
It's already pierced, little guy.
The DNA, a single source of male DNA on a K-bar knife sheet found at the crime scene, was matched to Kohberger using investigative genetic genealogy. Trash from his family's Pennsylvania home confirmed. Edward, excuse me, but you're moving things and I don't want them moved.
My cat loved my
key. In the middle of the night stabbing deaths at 1122 King Road, Bryan Kohberger was on Amazon shopping for a K-bar knife and sheath, the same brand of sheath.
Oh, please, I got to put some music in here. You got the music in me. You got the music in me. Okay. All right, I'll calm down. Let's see. Against all odds.
Investigators had found in the bed of one of the victims, left behind, they believe, by the killer. That and the rest of what we're reporting comes from records in the possession of law enforcement and from multiple sources with direct knowledge of the case. That same week, the week after the killing, Kohberger began viewing or saving on his phone photos, videos, and news updates about the murder. He did that at least 60 times. It's collecting everything, all the reporting about the incident.
It's very common. We've been watching all these things.
A month after the murders, on December 15th, Kohberger watched a video that included this quote: "Something is wrong with me. I can't be who I need to be. Something is wrong with me. Will it last for eternity?"
It doesn't fit into society.
In late December, 6 weeks after the murders of Maddie Morgan, Katie Gonzalez, Sandra Granolo, and Ethan Chapman, records show Kohberger, the criminology student, was again on his phone playing a clip from a YouTube program called Ted Bundy, The Essence of a Psychopath. Within 24 hours of that, himself, Kohberger, dressed the same way Bundy is pictured on that program. And finally, 2 days later, on Thursday, December 29th, Bryan Kohberger pulled up a song on his phone by Britney Spears. The title, Criminal.
Kohberger drove across country with his father to Pennsylvania for the holidays, getting pulled over twice in Indiana on December 15, 2022, for tailgating. He commented to police, "It's really sad what happened to them," but wasn't detained as no suspect was available. On December 30th, 2022, he was arrested at his parents' home by FBI SWAT and Pennsylvania State Police. He was extradited to Idaho on January 4th, 2025. Kohberger was indicted on 4 counts of first-degree unaliving and 1 count of burglary. A judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf in May of 2023. He's held without bail in Ada County Jail in Boise after the trial was moved from Latah County due to publicity concerns.
Hey, quit scratching me.
The trial was set for August 11th, is set for August 11th, 2025 in Boise, expected to last over 3 months. Prosecutors seeking the unaliving penalty, citing aggravating factors. Now, I'm wondering how they got an unbiased jury, because so many people have heard about this. Is a nationwide case. There's very few people in this nation that don't know about this case. Social media makes that possible. I mean, if you're anywhere on social media, you're going to see about this case. And you're going to see about the other cases, Sebastian Rogers and Summer Wells and the little kids in Nova Scotia. I mean, you're going to hear about them if you're anywhere near social media. And that's Reddit, Facebook, YouTube, eBay, not eBay, but TikTok, any of them. They're all talking about this case. So how can they find a jury that can be unbiased? I don't think there's 19 people in this country that don't know about this case. I don't think so. And Idaho's not that big of a state. So, okay. That's just my input. That's my suggestion.
I'm checking messages because my messages come in on my watch.
As of June 23, 2025, evidence ruling Judge Stephen Hipsey has allowed most of the 911 call testimony about the bushy eyebrows suspect and Kohberger's Amazon purchases. The defense bid to suppress DNA evidence, and IGG was denied. A woman claiming to be the DoorDash driver who delivered food to Kernodle around 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, said in a September 2024 police video, "I saw Bryan there." Her testimony could be critical, though her reliability is debated due to her unrelated DUI arrest. Now, in the beginning of this, we heard that Kernodle had called one of her friends to find out if her friend was actually driving door.
I know it looks boring, me sitting here watching myself, but I couldn't sleep last night. So when daylight came, I got up and I come in here and I started recording this because I was wide awake and I couldn't sleep and I'd been researching it. And this is actually what's left over from what I did Saturday. I didn't finish the something came up and I had to leave the live Saturday. And so now I come back to it, and this is the rest of what I researched on Bryan Kohberger.
DoorDash that night. So I wonder if this woman is Kernodle's friend or if this woman is somebody that just happened to pick up the DoorDash order that night. I guess we'll find out in trial. A May 2025 Dateline episode revealed details from Kohberger's phone data and research, prompting defense claims to gag order violations. They requested a trial delay, arguing publicity prejudiced Kohberger, but no ruling on the delay has been confirmed. The defense has pushed theories of other perpetrators, citing, I got a fruit fly in here, citing BLOD from an unknown male on the stairwell and a glove outside the house. A hearing on this is set for June 18th, 2025. Now, I don't know the results of that hearing. Kohberger's defense team claims he was on a late night drive for hiking or stargazing, supported by cell phone data placing him away from the scene. They challenged the DNA, IgG methods, and eyewitness reliability, arguing Mortensen's bushy eyebrows description is inconsistent. The prosecutors rely on DNA, phone data, vehicle footage, and Amazon records. They argue Kohberger's bushy eyebrows match Mortensen's description and plan to let jurors decide. No motive has been publicly stated. Unanswered questions are the motive. Prosecutors haven't disclosed a motive. Speculation includes Kohberger's alleged fixation on the victims through Instagram stalking or a personal grudge, but no clear link has been established. The victim connection, it's unclear if Kohberger knew the victims beyond following them on or visiting their workplace. Why Mortensen and Funk waited to call 911 remains unresolved, with texts between them showing panic but no immediate action. Alternate prosecutors, the defense claims of other suspects, including the unknown male DNA, are under scrutiny but lack substantiation so far. The current status: Kohberger awaits trial in Boise, with jury selection starting July 30th, 2025. The case has drawn intense media attention, complicated by leaks and gag order limiting public statements. The defense's push for delay due to publicity and new evidence, e.g. the DoorDash driver, could shift the timeline, but the trial remains on track for August 2025. The case
Please hit that thumbs up for if you're, and you can comment in the chat. I love to hear comments or read comments. So please hit the thumbs up if you're in here. It helps get the algorithm out there so more people can watch. And it's a free way to support the channel. And if you'd like to, please subscribe to my channel. You can also join the Locker Sleuth group, and because you would fit great in this locker. Look at the locker room. You fit great in the locker room. I'm telling you. All right. We're talking about Bryan Kohberger.
hinges on forensic evidence, DNA, and phone data, but faces challenges from defense claims of procedural error and biased publicity. Kohberger's criminology background and online searches have fueled speculation about his mindset, but these are circumstantial without a proven motive. Always approach such cases with skepticism toward media narratives and unverified claims, as ongoing legal proceedings may reveal new details or contradictions. All right. Okay, there are some posts on X dating as far back as December 30th of 2022. Daily Loud says Bryan Kohberger, 28, arrested in connection with the unaliving of 4 college students in Idaho. On December 30th, 2022, Tom Winter, breaking news. NBC News, Bryan Kohberger was arrested this morning in connection with the homicides of 4 University of Idaho students and is waiting trial. Josh Breslow on December 30th, 2022. This is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning. Moscow police announced arrest of Bryan Kohberger, 28, charged with unaliving 4 University of Idaho students. Wow. June 20th, 2023. CNN reports Bryan Kohberger, the 28-year-old man accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students, visited the restaurant where 2 of the victims worked in weeks before their unaliving, according to sources. And on April 5th, 2023, News Nation, breaking news out of Idaho. Bryan Kohberger, who was accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students in November, is now being investigated for additional murders additional unalivings in Pennsylvania. I haven't heard about that. Okay, January 19, 2023. Bishop Talbert Swan, at Talbert Swan on X. Bryan Kohberger unalived 4 University of Idaho students. He was either having a bad day, suffering from affluenza, was a troubled youth, had mental illness, or was negatively influenced. Okay, so at this point, January, we don't know for sure that Bryan Kohberger did this. Even today, 4 years later, we don't know for sure. Okay? So this Bishop
I'm going to let this play. I'm going to run out and roll up my truck windows because I can hear thunder. I'll be right back.
Albert Swan should have said accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students. He misworded that. Okay. On June 26th of 2023, the Associated Press, breaking, prosecutors say they are seeking the unaliving penalty for Bryan Kohberger the man accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students last year. Okay. Now, that was more better written. Now, I'm not a perfectionist in English or anything. At ABC News, January 2nd, 2023, police identified Bryan Christopher Kohberger as the suspect accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students in November through DNA using public genealogy databases. See? That's okay. Now, December 30th of 2022, I wish these were in chronological order. Okay. December 30th, 2022, 50 Shades of Way at Devenu World
All right, I'm
_2.
back. Sorry.
Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 28, has been arrested in Pennsylvania for the brutal unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students. Okay. December 30th, 2022, Rose at 901 Lulu on X. Meet Bryan Kohberger. According to the media, he is the subject in the quadruple homicide in Idaho. Hashtag Idaho students. Hashtag Idaho 4. Okay. December 30th, 2022, News Nation. New details.
You're
What
sitting
we've
on the
learned
keyboard.
about Bryan Kohberger, the suspect
Hello,
arrested
baby.
in connection
Hello,
with the
baby.
brutal November unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students. Wow. And it says there's a full story on News Nation about that. Okay. December 24th. Michael Ruiz, officials are now saying Bryan Kohberger, the suspect charged in the unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students, was investigated in connection with a home invasion that took place before the unalivings. Wow. December 30, 2022. Bryan Christopher Kohberger is the suspect taken into custody regarding the Idaho unalivings of 4 college students. Okay. So if any of these say something different, let's see. The Associated Press, April 24th. Judge rules prosecutor can seek unaliving penalty against Bryan Kohberger if he is convicted of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students despite autism diagnosis. Okay, June 19th, ABC News reports on X. Newly surfaced body cam footage shows an interview with a woman who says she saw suspect Bryan Kohberger while she was dropping off food just moments before the police say the 4 were unalived. Wow. July 17th, 2023, somebody named Nerdy Addict, grad student speaking on condition of anonymity, says Bryan Kohberger missed class on Monday, one day after the Idaho 4 unaliving. Wow. That was from the source of Inside Edition.
Why you smack me?
June 10th, Bryan Kohberger's prosecution filed a motion opposing the defense's request to delay the trial. Prosecutors say defense has had plenty of time to prepare and that a delay could make it something. We read that one. We read that one.
You make my nose itch.
June 17th, new out of Idaho. A surprise witness said she saw Bryan there on the night of the student unalivings, according to local reporting. Okay, that was the DoorDash driver lady. Okay. Amber, newly released woman says, oh, the motion continues. This one's just a bunch of hashtags. It doesn't really say anything.
I'm trying to find some worthy information here.
Inside the trial, June 18th, Kohberger case, second witness said she saw Bryan at the crime scene. Bryan Kohberger is accused of fatally unaliving 4 university students. Okay, so I guess they're talking about the only witness I've heard about is the DoorDash driver, unless they're talking about the ring camera footage of his car being in the area. I don't know. June 18th, Charlie Davis says, Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, appeared in court Wednesday. His defense team wants the trial delayed. Okay. All right, that's all there was on X. There was 25 web pages that covered it. See if we can get anything new. At the time of the unalivings, Kohberger owned a similar 2015 Elantra identified via WSU records. Kohberger's phone connected to a tower near the crime scene 23 times in 4 months, including at 4:48 a.m. on November 13th. It stopped reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m., suggesting it was turned off or in airplane mode during the unalivings.
Tactical teams arrested Kohberger less than 2 hours later. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Count 1 of the criminal complaint charges you with the felony offense of burglary. The maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is not less than 1 year in prison, no more than 10 years in prison, and or a $50,000 fine or both. Do you understand? Of murder in the first degree. The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found.
According to CNN, it says a judge oversees a pre-trial hearing for Bryan Kohberger, the former criminology grad student accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students in November 2022, ordered prosecutors and defense attorneys Thursday to preserve records after an apparent leak made its way onto Dateline NBC episode last week. Judge Stephen Hippler also requested more information on a proposed defense argument that there are possible alternative perpetrators during one of the last hearings before the trial goes ahead later this summer. Kohberger, 30, was seen in the courtroom at the hearing Thursday morning on a live stream, seated in between his attorney, wearing a white shirt and dark pattern tie. He faces 4 counts of first-degree unaliving in the unalivings of Madison Mobbing, Kaylee Gonsalves, Vanna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, who were fatally stabbed on an off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho, in the overnight hours, November 13, 2022. Kohberger was arrested in the killings over a month later in his home in state of Pennsylvania. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf in May of 2023. The lurid case has riveted the public and has already been featured multiple true crime documentaries. Still, prosecutors have not outlined his potential motive, and a sweeping gag order has kept the parties from speaking publicly, making each pretrial hearing an opportunity to quench the public's thirst to learn more details. The public desires for inside knowledge on this case was addressed in an order filed by Hippler Thursday, which reprimanded all parties involved for potentially leaking information that was featured in a Dateline NBC special on Friday. The special featured extensive records from Kohberger's phone, including internet and Amazon searches, Instagram photos, and cell phone tower data. According to the order, Dateline also obtained security footage showing a car driving near the off-campus home around the same time investigators think the murder unalivings occurred. In scathing orders, Hippler said the leak will have lasting repercussions, and it is imperative to attempt to see that the source of such leak is identified and held to account. Such violations not only undermine the rule of law potentially by persons charged with upholding it, but also significantly impede the ability to see an impartial jury. Importantly, such violations potentially frustrate the ability to ensure both sides receive a fair trial. One of the orders said both the prosecution and the defense are ordered to retain all records relevant to the leaked information and submit a list within 7 days to whom on their team came into contact with the relevant evidence. Prosecutors are also required to come up with a written plan on how to identify any potential violators and how to prevent it from happening again. Jury selection is scheduled to begin late July, with the trial slated to start August 1st. If convicted, Kohberger could face the unaliving penalty. Judge sets June pretrial hearing date. Recent pretrial hearings have touched on the admissibility of key pieces of evidence, including Kohberger's autism diagnosis, DNA analysis, his Amazon purchase history, and a witness description of the suspect's bushy eyebrows. Kohberger's legal team also has previously said it plans to present evidence of alternative perpetrators ahead of the trial. Hippler on Thursday set a hearing on the issue for June 18th. Hippler said he would seal the defense proffer about other suspects in the case and ask the defense attorneys to provide him with whatever actual evidence you have that supports those allegations. Right?
Okay, I just want to get this out here for the people out there in the bushes that might want to say ugly things. If you notice, sometimes I sound like I have an accent, and sometimes I sound like I have a deep accent. And it's just the way I am. I don't fake it. Sometimes it's just some words come out with a deeper accent than other words. So you notice my accent changes a lot as I talk. And I started out in California, went to Oregon, Washington, grew up mostly here in Kansas, was transplanted over to Arkansas, and then went to Missouri, and now I'm back in Kansas. So I've got a combination of all these accents that I learned, and they're all mixed together, and that's what I am. I'm a Heinz 57. So that's what it is. If y'all have a problem with my accent, I'm sorry. That's the way it is. It might be there right now. It might not be there in 5 minutes.
Other than just allegations, and show that the evidence is admissible by May 23rd. I do not know if that information has been added. During Thursday's hearing, Hippler broke down the trial process in stages, discussing matters including jury selection, hours for the trial, and seating within the trial courtroom. I'm not a fan of surprises, Hippler noted. The judge directed the defense team that he would like to get back from them a declaration of the last best offer, referring to a possible plea deal from prosecutors by late June or early July. In other words, identifying whether the defendant received an offer or whether he has accepted or rejected, etc., Hippler said. Prosecutors aren't required to entertain a plea deal to bargain away the unaliving penalty, but often they do. Whether Kohberger was actually considering a plea deal in the unaliving of the 4 University of Idaho students on November 13, 2022 is unknown. For jury selection, the judge outlined his plan to assign a scramble number to each person within the universe of jurors who will then receive questionnaires. Hippler stressed the security and confidentiality of those questionnaires. Hippler decided there will be 8 alternates and also counsel he wants a pool of between 50 and 55 final jurors, from which 12 jurors and 8 alternates totaling 20 jurors will be selected. Alternates will not be decided until deliberation, and a lottery will determine the alternates. The trial is expected to be live streamed after jury selection. Both sides discussed witnesses that may not want to appear on camera, including the surviving roommates. Hippler responded by saying the roommates are victims of the burglary. He added, there is a compelling interest to protect victims in the courtroom, and that is if victims request it, their faces won't be shown. However, he said he would have to be convinced not to show the other witnesses on the live stream because of the public interest of the case. The best way that we have to ensure the public is accepting of whatever verdict may be reached in this case is for the public to have the ability to see the evidence, Hippler said. The trial will run.
I'm not ignoring you. My black cat doesn't like church. And Edward's right here and church is right there, trying to come in closer. And I'm trying to prevent a cat fight because Edward would hurt church. Church is only a baby.
Monday through Friday, beginning at 8:45 a.m. and end at 3:30 p.m. local time. If the jury becomes sequestered, Hippler said he is likely to extend those hours. He noted they may ultimately need a sequestered jurors once the trial goes to deliberation. Hippler ordered that seats be reserved inside the trial courtroom for the surviving roommates. I don't know whether they would have any desire to be there. I suspect not, given the way they've been treated in the media. But if they do that, they would have seats available. He said seating will also reserve for family members of the victims and 4 Kohberger family members. The possibility of unaliving penalty hangs over the case. If he is convicted of capital unaliving, Kohberger would then face a penalty phase in which the juror will consider further evidence and decide whether he is sentenced to unalive or a lesser punishment, life in prison without the possibility of parole. The jury will receive capital punishment case instructions in the pre-proof phase of the trial. The judge said, if there is a guilty verdict on any of the unalive counts, the penalty phase would likely begin the next day, Hippler said, given that the jury will certainly be sequestered during that process. The unalivings of 4 University of Idaho students in an off-campus home in Moscow in November 2022 was as brutal as they are perplexing. The group of friends had gone out in the college town and returned to their shared home late the next day. Police found the 4 students unalived inside, and there were no signs of forced entry or damage. The brutal unalivings rattled Moscow, a city of 25,000 people that hadn't reported an unaliving since 2015. The slayings led to weeks of investigation from police, frustrations from the victim family about the pace of the police work, and fear in the local community of a mass unaliver on the loose. On December 30th, investigators arrested Kohberger, a grad student living in nearby Pullman, Washington, at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Investigators had connected him to a white vehicle seen near the unalivings. DNA recovered from a tan leather knife sheath found near Mogen's body, and his cell phone location data near the home, according to court documents. Since then, the progression of the case has been slowed by the series of pretrial motions and hearings related to the unalive penalty, a gag order, the use of investigative genetic genealogy, and Kohberger's proposed alibi. The case is likely to hinge on DNA evidence from knife sheath under a victim's fingernails, knife sheath under the victim's fingernails, and a BLOD stains. The prosecution's most important piece of evidence is a DNA sample taken from the knife sheath left at the crime scene. Investigators then used investigative genetics genealogy, or IgG, a forensic field combing DNA analysis with genealogical to connect that sample to Kohberger's family, according to prosecutors. Subsequent DNA testing found Kohberger was a statistical match to the sample, leading to the arrest, according to prosecutors. To combat that evidence, his defense team has repeatedly questioned the use, legality, and accuracy of.
At this point in the story, do you think Kohberger is guilty, or do you think it might be somebody else? Y'all don't fight. Sorry, one cat's under my chair and the other cat's not happy about it. So, but what do you think about Kohberger? Do you think he did it? I don't know. I mean, they're painting a picture to make it really look like it was him, but could it have been somebody else? I think so.
The DNA testing done in each step of the process. The DNA could make or break the case, and it's all about what the jury finds to be credible. Misty Maris, an attorney who has closely followed the case, told CNN in March. Okay. Bryan Kohberger, the suspect accused of unaliving 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, set to go to trial in August in a case that could see him sentenced to unalive. He's charged with the unalived Madison, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, who were together in the same house when someone broke in at night and
You let that baby in here.
unalived them. But the case is running into problems,
He's
not
baby. You're
least
supposed to
a
protect him.
failure by prosecutors
You're supposed
to
to
ascribe
protect
a
him.
motive for
He's a
the
baby.
unalivings, which
You're supposed to
terrified
protect
a
him.
region and shocked the U.S.
He's your
amid a
little brother.
media frenzy
Yes.
around the crime. Last week, Kohberger's attorney requested a trial delay, citing in part intense publicity around the case, generated in part by recent CBS Dateline special they claim was prejudicial to their client because it contained apparent prosecution leaks in violation of a non-dissemination order. The leaks included information that the phone belonging to Kohberger connected 23 times in 4 months to a cell phone tower near the rented home where the 4 students were unalived, and also that he searched the internet for information about serial killer Ted Bundy, as well as for pornography with the keywords "rug."
Maybe they had a better library in Idaho than they did in Washington. And he went to the library for research.
Sleeping and passed out. The defense is arguing it is now requires more time to prepare for trial because of the publicity around that information. Further problems may arise in July with the pretrial publication of the Idaho 4 by the crime writer James Patterson and the journalist Vicki Ward, who ran afoul of a judge in South Carolina after obtaining crime scene photos and documents in a civil claims related to the state's notorious Alex Murdaugh double unaliving case. Kohberger's attorneys have said that the blurb for the book suggests that the apparent Dateline leak was not only a violation of this court's non-dissemination order, and a delay might mitigate the prejudicial effect of such inflammatory pretrial publicity. Idaho Judge Stephen Hippler has said he is open to appointing a special prosecutor to question people under oath to determine the origin of the leaks. But whether or not a delay is granted, a number of recent court rulings have been going against Kohberger, who was pleaded not guilty. His defense team has tried to keep considerable evidence, including a 911 alerting police to the crime, the description of a man with bushy eyebrows at the house around the time of the unalivings, and his Amazon shopping history, including the purchase of a knife similar to the one the alleged assailant was said to have used out of the trial. Amazon records show that an account under Kohberger's name and email address bought a K-bar, knife, sheath, and sharpener on March 22nd, 2022. On March 20, 2022. 8 months before the murder, and had them shipped to his parents' home in Pennsylvania, where he was later arrested. A brown leather K-bar knife sheath was found, police said, next to one of the victim's bodies, and DNA on the clasp matched Kohberger. Kohberger's defense claims that Amazon purchase history was out of context, incomplete, and unfairly prejudicial. That Hippler ruled it was highly relevant and established significant connections between the defendant and K-Bar knife and cheek. In another ruling against the defense, Hippler turned down a request to exclude the criminology student's 12-page master's essay from being presented as evidence in a trial. In it, Kohberger assesses how to handle a crime scene where a woman has been found unalive. You could read those words. Other rulings going against the suspect involve evidence about his white Hyundai Elantra, a similar make and model of car that prosecutors say the unaliver drove and which was captured on security video near the home before the unaliving and leaving soon after. Nor has the judge allowed defense requests that the unalive penalty option be dropped because their client was once diagnosed with autism. Hippler instead ruled that the defense can only introduce the diagnosis if Kohberger testifies in his own defense or as a mitigating factor he is convicted. But Hippler also ruled that Kohberger's defense was permitted to keep a court filing in support of alternate perpetrators, sealed from public view. It is not yet clear if defense claims of other perpetrators or perpetrators claimed to be in the document will be permitted at trial. Absent from the prosecutors filing a date to date are any attempts to ascribe a motive for Kohberger's alleged actions. Forensic psychiatric Carol Lieberman has said she believes Kohberger's decision to study psychology and then criminology was because he was trying to calm the demons inside of him and simultaneously trying to learn how to commit the perfect crime. To the Guardian last week, she went further, arguing that the BLOODY crime scene and use of a knife was evident that Kohberger harbored rage against young women. Kohberger, she claimed, has held this rage since at least middle school when he had a crush on a cheerleader said to have looked like Kaylee Gonzalez, only for her to reject him. I think that's why he stalked and killed them. She said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that word. According to some reports, Kohberger followed Mogan and Gonzalez on Instagram. The defense denies the claim and argues there is no motive to find because Kohberger did not commit the crime. Liz,
what do you think about that? Because Kohberger did not commit the crime? Well, I mean, I don't want to go against what anybody else thinks, but I personally don't know. He could be found not guilty. We're just going to have to wait till the trial, I guess.
Schlesinger, a professor of psychology at John Jay College, said it should be noted that Kohberger's alleged crime was targeted mass unaliving, not serial unaliving, because there were two others in the home at the time, including a surviving roommate who reported seeing the intruder with bushy eyebrows. and were not attacked. It seems to be situationally based, so you can rule out psychosis or impulsivity. Schlesinger, or I guess it's Schlesinger, said, and it doesn't appear to be actually motivated. It could be jealousy or a feeling of rejection or humiliation, but we really don't know the motive, what the motive was. But that doesn't mean jury would not want prosecutors to at least imply a motive. Jurors want to hear a motive before they send someone to the execution chamber. He said they will want to know why he did it. Okay, now what I'm going to say about that is he was 28 years old and Consalvis was only 21. So he was 7 years older than she was. So in middle school, she was still in elementary school. She couldn't have been the cheerleader but she resembled that cheerleader. But he's smart enough to know that she's too young to have been the cheerleader. So how can they use that as a motive? I'm just questioning it.
For 2.5 years, this scene has only been described in court documents until now. This video, obtained exclusively by Dave Vine, shows a white car on King Road in Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022. At the wheel, the state will allege was Bryan Kohberger, making repeated passes near a house where minutes later 4 students were stabbed to death. Kohberger has pleaded not guilty to all charges. This and other materials from our trusted sources, presented now for the first time in public, are part of a digital trait.
Now, how can they tell that that's a Honda Elantra? I can't tell that that's a Honda Elantra. Of course, I don't know my vehicles, but somebody would really have to know to be able to tell that from that kind of bright lights and just being a white car.
From before and after the murders of the students Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Gernodal, and Ethan Chapin. Materials like records from Kohberger's cell phone in the possession of law enforcement now, showing the phone calls he made shortly after the murders to a phone linked to his parents, just before he took a now infamous thumbs up selfie. And Google searches regarding serial killers, including Ted Bundy, and searches for a particular kind of pornography. His searches include the words forced, passed out, drugged, sleeping. I mean, to you.
Interesting, isn't it? These are all themes of power, domination, and control.
After the murders, investigators discovered a sheath from a K-bar knife apparently left by the killer in one of the victims'
college murder trial. Bryan Kohberger's defense team revealed DNA from 3 people was found under the fingernails of one victim. Whitworth has the story this morning.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. So a new twist in this case involving DNA evidence in a redacted filing. Lawyers for Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of stabbing 4 college students to death, say DNA from 3 unidentified individuals was found under victim Madison Mogan's nails. The defense claiming that independent testing they did eliminated Kohberger as one of those individuals. They say their client is innocent and argue the DNA test results were inconclusive and therefore should be excluded at trial over concerns that it would mislead the jury. However, prosecutors have linked the former PhD student to the crime, saying his DNA was found on the knife sheath underneath Mogan. This information came amid a flurry of filings as the defense tries to get the death penalty taken off the table. As part of their argument, they revealed the now 30-year-old has autism spectrum disorder, which manifests in many of these highly prejudicial but completely involuntary mannerisms.
Several major decisions yesterday about critical evidence.
I got a question. You gonna tell me the answer? You gonna tell me the answer? They've torn that house down. I don't know why, but they tore that house down before the trial. So the jury can't even go to the location to see what needs to be seen if they were to request it. I think there's a cover up there somewhere. Because they shouldn't have torn that house down. He found some bubble wrap. They shouldn't have torn that house down before the trial, in my opinion. I think they got rid of some evidence that didn't need to be gotten rid of yet.
That could impact the suspect's defense. And what work is there in Boyd's course? Good morning, Hannah.
Yeah, Michael, good morning. You can really start to see how with someone's file is taking shape with an early ruling. The judge will allow the 3D model of the home, but also sided with the defense, excluding the words sociopath and psychopath from the trial. But on some of those more contentious issues, we're waiting on written rulings. This morning, the judge in the Idaho College murder case weighing critical decisions on evidence that will shape the August trial.
Make no mistake. These murders, whoever committed them, were brutal and were horrific. And so I suspect that the evidence will reflect that.
Kohberger sitting in court during a 6-hour-long hearing Wednesday. The prosecution and defense going head-to-head over everything from what prosecutors say is the defendant's Amazon search history to witness testimony, DNA evidence, and the suspect's possible alibi.
Okay. That is the end of what I had researched. There it is. All right. So that's the end of what I had researched. What do you think about the story? I mean, I can't see if the girls, if none of those people had actually ever met Bryan Kohberger prior to this night, why would he choose those 4 people? I'm kind of thinking it would need to be somebody that knew them. Because it would have to be somebody who knew exactly where their bedrooms were of the victims that he wanted to unalive. And from what I understand, Bryan Kohberger didn't know whose bedroom was whose in that house. Because if you don't know to go to the 3rd floor to find the 2 girls that you want to get first, then why would you go to the 3rd floor, which only had 2 bedrooms in it? One of the bedrooms had a dog in it. And the other bedroom had the 2 girls in it. It had to be somebody that knew that those girls were up there in that room on the 3rd floor. Because the other 2 were, from what I understand, on the 1st floor in the living room. I don't know. I could be wrong. I got a hair. I don't need a hair. Right in between my eyes. Hi, baby. So, I mean, I don't know. There's, in my opinion, there's evidence pointing away from Kohberger and evidence pointing towards Kohberger. And a partial fingerprint when, from what I understand, they had a party in that house like 2 days before the unaliving happened. So, it could have been anybody's partial fingerprint. And just because somebody buys that type of weapon, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 8 months prior to unaliving these girls, I don't see how that, because I could have bought a K-bar knife during that time frame. I could have. I didn't. But I could have. And, you know, can I get convicted of it? Because, you know, if I happen to be up there, I have family that lives up in Washington, California. If I happen to go up there to visit my family at that time, maybe I was heading up there for a Thanksgiving get together that we were going to do not on Thanksgiving because the other families, everybody had to go everybody other ways that day. But what if I was up there for Thanksgiving at the time and my cell phone pinged there? And if I had purchased a K-bar knife during that time, would I be sitting where Kohberger is? Would I be? I don't think so. You're right. You're right. Church says no. Or did he say, I don't know? Sounded like he said, I don't know. No? Yeah, okay. All right. So leave a comment down in below of what you think. Who's guilty? If you follow Smiley Stories World, she's going live members only right now, which means I probably can't go in there because I had to get my debit card renewed and all my memberships have lapsed on everybody. But then again, everybody's treating me like I don't exist. So the other channels treat me like I don't exist. So that's on them. If they don't want me to exist, if they want to treat me like I don't exist, why should I go to their channel? If you want me to support you, I would accept the respect of you supporting me. I'll support you if you support me. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But I ain't going to be the only one doing all the work here. That's the way it is. That's just the way it is. All right. Church, are you ready to end the live stream? You ready for the live stream to be over? Okay, now he's going to go to sleep on my lap. On my desk. You gotta love him. You gotta love him. My legs look like hamburger from him crawling up them. And my chest feels like hamburger from him crawling across here all the time. But he'll outgrow that. Hopefully him and Edward will start being friends soon. All right, so what do you want to talk about tomorrow? We already know about Bryan Kohberger, and his trial doesn't go for another 2 months. So at this point, I'm saying, when he does go to trial, he's probably going to get a time served because he's been sitting there in jail waiting and waiting. He's going to get time served. Now, my moderator's not here, or I would show her some of the things we purchased over the weekend, or she's not showing her face. But she might still be here. I'm sure if anybody was saying anything nasty and ugly, she'd be making sure that they weren't. So, but there's nobody here. So, anyway, I don't know if my moderator can see that right there. Not that, but that. She told me about that. I'm definitely here. Yay, yay, yay. Let me show you something. You told me about this. Look what I found. It's got from all the years around. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You told me it was there. I went back and got it. And then I found this. like brand new condition. I have to ask you a question. Will these be going to the same person? They're keychains. This bottom one is Stranger Things, and this other one is I Know Jesus. Will they be going to the same person, or will they be going to two different persons? I don't know if they're both going to number 4 or if they're going to 3 and 4. Is this one 3 and this one 4? I don't know. Anyway, on that note, let me show you what I'm going to do. I found this fabric. Okay? Can you read it? Is it clear enough? Okay? 4 is Stranger Things. Okay, gotcha. These are pillow shams. I love the colors. They're just so pretty. And I'm going to take these pillow shams and take them apart and use this Stranger Things to make 2 pillow shams. You bought that fabric too? So I'm going to make pillow shams out of it. And then look at this cobalt blue. It's a wall pocket. You hang it on the wall and you can put your flowers and stuff in it. And it's blown glass. I have never seen one in my life. Never. So when I saw it, I had to get it. Look at this. This is in poly. And you can feel the ridges in it. See? It doesn't glow. These are some of the things I found over the weekend. So don't. Oh. So anyway. And then I found 2 cheesecloches. You can see the right here. I'm always seeing the bases, but I'm never seeing the tops. So when I saw the 2 tops, I purchased them so that next time I see the bases, I can find the bases and get them. And then this is her purse. It's French. They're French designs. It's a wooden box purse. I think they said it was a pencil case. When I looked it up online, it said it was a pencil case. But that's cool. This is EAPG glass. And, oh, don't feel, okay. This is a child's toy. For back in the 40s and 50s, this is a child's toy. It's a child's butter dish. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to let a child play with crystal. Yeah. Okay. anyway, I don't know what we want to talk about. A child's butter dish, yeah. And it's glass. I don't know. So anyway, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I didn't either. But down in the RV garage, I've got a antique child's cereal bowl. It's about this big round and about this deep. And it's ceramic. It's a baby cereal bowl. I don't know. When I was growing up, we got plastic. But I guess back in the day, if you had the money, because I remember when I was little, Mom and Dad had a knife rest. It looked like a little dumbbell, and it was crystal, and it was a crystal knife rest from. You got lawn darts? Yeah, we had lawn darts. Yeah, we did. Actually, we didn't have the lawn darts. The boys decided that they could use screwdrivers and get the same effect. So they were throwing screwdrivers across the yard at each other, and one of them got a screwdriver around the side of the head by the other and ended up going to the hospital. He's still not right in the head. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but you can guess. So, yeah, the older one got in trouble for throwing the lawn dart at the screwdriver at the younger one. And back when I was about 6 years old, I got in trouble for using a bobby pin to clean his ears like I'd seen my aunt do. She cleaned the wax out of the ears with a bobby pin, and I poked it in too far, and I broke his eardrum, and his ear started bleeding. I got in trouble for that. Same kid. So, anyway, I'm going to get off of here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason they smile. I'll be back at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I hope to see you here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason they smile, and get locked.